Welcome to Legacy Cast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Morning, Legacy Cast listeners. This is James Snow, your Legacy Cast host, and here we like to talk to people around the world about things that they value and telling their story their way so that many generations from now are going to know that they lived and what was important to them and what they did to make a difference. And I have a guest with me today, Ashley. How are you doing today?
Hi. I'm good. How are you, man?
Yeah, and Ashley Sanders, somebody I met through one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and going to be a very exciting guest here. I hear that she's a very entertaining guest, so we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun here today. So as the program would imply with its name, Legacy Cast does have some talk about money, but it's not really the focal point because we really talk about your story, your way, and we want to know things that people value because really that's part of what is involved in our legacies is what are we doing today that's going to impact people many years from now, making the world a better place. And so that many generations from now actually know that we lived and that we were here and we made a difference. So, Ashley, what does that mean when you think about building a legacy? What does that mean to you?
Building a legacy is something I've been trying to do forever, man. Like my whole entire life. That's like what my life is sort of centered around.
Right.
It's when I think of what I would like to leave as a legacy, it's just like acceptance. Like I don't know how FCC regulated this podcast is. But I don't really give a crap about who people are. And I think there's good in everybody. You just kind of have to be patient with some people. So I'm very accepting and very tolerant, and I don't judge people. That's like the legacy that I would leave behind.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciate what you're saying there because it really should be our story. It's not what other people think about it. It's what are we doing. And we should make a difference, but at the same time, we obviously want to make the world better. When we're doing that. So, do you think that it's something very important that people consider? Maybe daily or weekly, what have you, that they spend time, sort of reflect on what are they doing that's going to make a difference. Do you think that's important?
Yeah, it should really be like. In my opinion, it should really just be like the focal point of how you go forth living your life, whether it's in business or personally or whatever. If you're not thinking about the impact you're making, I mean, while being, self-centered is important in certain aspects, realistically, the whole point of living is to make the world a better place. So I couldn't imagine why you wouldn't want to think about that daily and practice daily habits to create a better place to live.
Sure. I totally agree because we should think about those things. And I'm glad that you pointed that out. Now, from a business standpoint, how do you correlate that kind of thinking into what you do on a daily basis?
I don't judge people's wallets. Like I have price points, but I also realize that not everybody is going to be able to afford my service or whatever whatever I'm providing for them. So what I do for people is instead of, there's this real weird kind of arrogance around the online business world where it's like if they ask you how much, then they can't afford it, and you kind of just write them off. Me, what I do is, if someone asks me my prices, I tell them right up front. I don't have to wait until, there's a 30-minute consultation call. I tell them my prices right up front. If they can't afford them, what I do instead of just writing them off is I make sure I refer them to somebody who they can afford, someone who does just as, top quality of work as me and their price point's just a little lower. And then also if it's a nonprofit, usually I'll cut the price from 50%. So it's kind of it's very easy for me to come from a place of arrogance and say, well, if you can't afford my service, then screw you. But I don't think that's correct. I think that's kind of arrogant and rude, so that's kind of what I work my non-judginess into.
Yeah, and that's very admirable, that you come from that approach because, granted, we can't help everyone every day. there's only so much time in a day that we can help people, but you're still adding value for the fact that you help them find somebody that's within their wheelhouse, that maybe is within their budget, and that still is something that people can respect. And once they are able to afford you, guess who they're going to come back to?
Yeah.
So that's a very good way of approaching all of that. So when you're looking at your business and its future, now we'll look at it from the CEO standpoint for a minute here. What would you say maybe 2 or 3 things are that keep you up at night about your business that you really ponder on?
That I really what on? Sorry,
that you really ponder about your business, that you really think about?
Is it sustainable for the rest of my life is one of the things I think about often. Is it something that is going to, because you can do something, you can start a business and then, 10 years later you realize it's not serving you anymore. So I often realize, I often think about how I can create a sustainable business model and the correct transitions into my business I can go into so that it's not just a hobby, that I picked up and I dropped 10 years later and decided I was done with. And the other question I really ponder is am I doing this in the proper way? Because I'm not a college graduate, I've never gone to college. I've taken probably one marketing or one business class, but I'm always wondering if there's a formula or a secret that, if I would have got that business degree that I'm missing. So that's another thing that really just rattles in the back of my mind often.
So as far as creating strategies, do you think that's something that people should spend some time really putting into place for themselves, both on a personal and business level?
Oh, of course. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing. I'd say, honestly, if you're not putting together strategies personally to survive and just for your business to survive, I can't imagine that it's going to last long because you're not practicing. You're not implementing. You're just kind of taking people's money and saying, well, this is what's going to happen, but you're not preparing for the future where there's going to come a time where you have too many customers and you need to either outsource or you need to expand. You know what I mean? So if you're not putting together strategies, I quite frankly can't imagine what's going on in your mind.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many people that actually don't do that. They sort of fly by the seat of their pants and they go through business willy-nilly until they hit those speed bumps in the road, and then they don't really have a plan for what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
For example, some people going into business, they don't put together a business plan as such, and so
that's a dwindling thing. Actually, I found out, and the only reason I actually have a business plan is because I applied for a small business contest locally, and they were like, "We need a business plan," and I was like, "Oh crap, I don't have a business plan." And the first thing the guy said to me goes, "How the hell do you have a business?" I was like, "Well, I just started content creation and I started doing it for people and I got more clients." He goes, "Yeah, but what's your projections for the future?" I go, "Dude, right now I'm just trying to pay my rent." I don't have any projections. And that's when I realized, I need to put this on paper. I need to really see what I'm talking about and I need to make sure I don't get it over my head. So that's, that's why I have a business plan.
Yeah, and that's really part of the value of putting that together is you're able to forecast. And
right.
You're not just living today, but you're able to look 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, and you're able to forecast what's going to happen, and you're setting yourself up for scalability, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So, with other people that are in business that you come across, what would you say the most common reason is that they either give up or fail?
The most common
reason they give up or fail?
Oh, because they have no idea what they're doing. And they get in, and it's true, man. What happens is this, and this happened to me when I first started business 2 years ago. I thought I knew what I was doing. I was like, this is going to be easy. This is going to be fun. I'm going to create content for people. I'm going to do their videos. And then you get overwhelmed and you realize that you have no freaking clue what you're doing. Whether it be, filing the paperwork, whether it be taxes, whether it be any part of the business that's not actually you doing it. And it's the behind the scenes stuff, the marketing and all of that stuff. You get frustrated and you give up because you're like, I don't know what this is too much. You'd rather just have a job. And instead of being, like I should have been more proactive in my planning, I found myself at that point where I was overwhelmed. And instead of quitting because mama didn't raise a quitter, I just kind of reached out to a couple people and asked them, what the hell do I do next? I have a steady income. Okay. Now I have to stop just taking cash and start, paying, start doing business stuff like putting, going on sunbiz.org and filing for a business, whatever it's called, and doing the AIN and all that shit. So then I was like, okay. And then when I started getting overwhelmed with customers and booking appointments and stuff, I said, what's the next step? They say, get a virtual assistant. So I did that, and instead of reaching out, they just kind of crumble. And it's really sad, but it's what happens.
Yeah. So as far as roadblocks, you were mentioning some of the things that you have discovered yourself. What would you say roadblocks are that a new business person should look out for?
One of the biggest roadblocks, like, honestly, it's just working. When you work from home, it's hard to work, like, because you're already home, you're already comfortable, you're already, when you go into a 9 to 5, you go in there to accomplish something. When you work from home, your accomplishment is to be home, and you already are home. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just starting to work and beginning and finding that momentum and creating that schedule and that healthy, like, monthly calendar for yourself, and practicing working and going out and networking. And also isolating yourself is something I find that a lot of business owners do, which is a big roadblock that we all kind of go through, which is like you're solely focused on your business. You kind of you don't get rid of your friends, but you isolate yourself. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, to where all you're thinking about is business. And then one day you pop back into the world and you're like, oh my God, this is completely different from what I remember. And you have to re-socialize yourself in a sense, like you're a puppy. So don't isolate yourself, and definitely learn to create habits and create schedules, and don't bend from those schedules when you're at home.
Yeah, and having the home office, it takes a lot of discipline because, like you're saying, you're at home, you're in your comfortable space, you're in your safe space. And you have to have that discipline of knowing, okay, at this time of the day, I'm actually working. I'm not at home, quote unquote.
Right.
I'm on the job, and you have to develop that discipline because it's very easy to get that shiny object syndrome. When you're at your place of dwelling, because you see the things around you. Oh my gosh, I need to pick up that laundry. I need to take care of the dishes on there, or whatever. Whatever that distraction is, or even checking email. We have to structure things.
Right.
So, what kind of support and resources do you think that a new business person should look for that better positions himself?
Facebook groups are one of the best resources, especially if you find groups, not just groups within your business, but also groups within your hobbies. And you can connect with people through Facebook. Meetup is another one, because usually they'll have local networking events, and that's where you can make your local connections, because offline connections are just as important as online connections, if not 3 times more. And then also I would say we did Facebook groups, online meetups, and then also just staying connected, like, to your family or to your close friends. Keeping that connection is important, because you need to have that real world connection also. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And I've also seen, for example, small business administration is a good resource for people, because they have tons of free things that they can put out there. Score is another good one.
Score is great, yeah.
That can help people starting out. But even like chambers of commerce. Depending on what your business model is, the chamber has a whole lot of other business owners, and so obviously that's kind of a thing that people can tap into, and to be able to have other peers in the business world. So as far as your value system, I know that a lot of people used to we kind of kept our beliefs and our values separate from our business. But we've sort of entered an interesting time, I think, in society where we're actually starting to inject